Yes, and now coming out of the break, we will continue with the workshop on the Spec-Up-T with Hank, Kor, and Drummond. And we got a little bit of a taste yesterday during Hank and Kor's talk. So please, Hank, Kor, and Drummond, over to you.
Okay, I'll take the first part of the presentation and then Henk will take over. I'll share my screen.
Yes, absolutely. Stop sharing.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
I'm scrolling. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to tell you about the Spec-Up-T Web Editor. The web part is important. I created a short link that I will repeat during the presentation so people can take a look themselves. It's a short link for a temporary location here on my site. And in the end, we will move it to another domain. So, a short introduction. Who am I? My name is Kor Dwarshuis, and I'm the web developer of the Spec-Up-T editor, and I'm the only one currently. So, why do we want a web editor? Well, if you look at this screen movie of the terminal, of the command line, and you feel a little bit uncomfortable, then that's the reason why we are creating a web editor, because this is not for everybody. So this is repeating. So this is the idea of the command line, but what we want is something else. We want a web editor, and this is a preview. I'll show you now, and also I would like to point to the help function here, where you can, if you would try the editor, you could report your issues here. And I'm sure there are a lot of issues because it's still in the testing phase. Again, the link. So a very short history. In 2020, Daniel Buchner created Spec-Up-T. This was with diff, and this is for, let's say, simplified for computer nerds on the command line, and for people who say directory instead of folder. And in 2024, we started Spec-Up-T with the extra T, and that's also for computer nerds. It's also the command line, and it's still for people who say directory. And now we started the web editor, and that's for normal people. And you could compare it to MS Word, to a lot of MS Word files. And usually what you will talk about is folders. And so Henk and I really hope that you will try the editor tomorrow. And that's why I show you the link for the third time. You can write it down if you want.
Kor, could you put that link in the chat?
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
that'd be great. Thanks.
Maybe I'll paste it to. I don't see if I'm going to go into the chat, then my screen gets messed up. So I'll ask.
I
Henk.
see. I'll tell you what. It was.
It doesn't work.
It's short enough. I can actually type it into the chat. I'll do that now. Just keep it on the screen for a second.
Yeah.
We got it. Can continue, Kor.
Okay. So it's important to realize that it's the web editor is under development, so it's working, but you have to be careful and preferably use an installation or a specification that you created yourself. And we really hope that you will create a GitHub issue if you have having troubles. And again, that's the help function here in the web editor. So how to authenticate? So it's not a user ID and a password. It's called a personal access token, and this access token you create on your GitHub user ID, and it's tied to your user ID, and that's why you only have to enter the token. And we'll get to it later how to create one. We saved that for the last because it's a bit boring. So very short, the structure of Spec-Up-T. So basically, it's a collection of files. You could look at it as multiple Word documents, and they're written in a Markdown language. And Markdown language is a simple language for creating HTML. And this, what you're looking at now, I wrote this in Markdown, and if I press Command R, we switch to the Markdown language, and you see that it's things like this. You create headings, and this is a heading 2 and a heading 3. This is how you create bullet points, etc., etc. So now I go back to the normal look. So these are all the files, and when you're in the web editor, you will not even see them, but it's important to know that this is important, the docs and the spec directory or folder, and the specs.json is your settings file. So all this you will never see in the web editor. So relevant for you are 3 things: the spec folder, the specs.json, which is a settings file, the configuration file, and the docs folder. The specs, that's your input. That's where you do your writing, and that's where the let's say the Word files are, not Word files, but Markdown files. The settings file, the specs.json, that's computer instructions. That's how you want it, and that's where you do your settings. And then finally, the end result you'll find in the docs folder. That you could call that the output, and that's a web page, and that's what the people will read. So, in short, there is that's a file with some text, like the specification text. You could have a file with a term and a definition, another file with a term and a definition, etc., etc. File with some text. And then that goes into the computer here. And then finally, you have this index.html web page. So let's look at so I think now Henk takes over. Is that correct? Henk?
Yes, you're right, because I have the honor to show the end results when you've all used this and you've all set this up. What kind of results do you get if you use it? If I'm able to share, Kor, you have to unshare. Let's see. I made the same mistake as in the preparation. I need to have a clear anchor of my screens because I have too many screens open. And there we go. And there I got my anchor. So hopefully you see a GitHub repo, and I want to ask people that don't know what that is, just drop a line in the chat, because people there will be able to help you. Why do we use GitHub repos for our specifications and glossaries, because that's what Spec-Up-T is all about. We are able to create our own specifications and our own glossaries, and we can integrate them with people under a certain umbrella like Trust over IP. Why do we use these repos? And that's a simple answer. It's version control and workflow. So we are able to create certain versions of your work and compare that to other people's work, and they can contribute, you could contribute to their work, etc., etc. I won't go into an explanation of Git and GitHub, but this is the result. The result of a markdown file that has been processed by Git and GitHub will look like this end result, and this is the main Trust over IP glossary. And especially have a look at the left side here, which is the index. It's pretty basic. You see here one interlinked glossary summary, but the rest it's pretty basic. We have definitions here, many definitions, and the text what those definitions are. We will go into more detail of them, but remember, the only goal we have today is to put you to work tomorrow morning and do it yourself. And that's what Kor mainly is able to do when I've finished my brief presentation of what it is all about, what you get as an end result. So these are the glossaries. For example, I give you another, also with Spec-Up-T generated, the did method web as specification. We just migrated that to Spec-Up-T from Spec-Up, so it was in the old version of diff, and we've migrated it to Spec-Up-T. And then you will see more or less the same layout and colors. Of course, you would be able to change that because it's all open source, it's free, and it's under the flag of Trust over IP developed. If you want to know more about how it came to be, just look at the recording of yesterday's presentation. It's a half-an-hour introduction. So what you see here on the left side is much more. You see an index that is rich of paragraphs and sub-paragraphs and so on. This is a real specification, but it's exactly the same engine. And why is that? Why do we want to have one engine for either specifications as well as the glossaries? And there's one word to that: integration. And we have a big goal here. The central goal is that we want to create consensus among all groups that write specifications within Trust over IP. We want to invite them to reuse definitions that we already got, and then build their own scope on top of that with their own definitions to add to the ones that are already there. So let me show you quickly what we've all got here. So at the top, you see buttons. You see that there's 63 terms in the did method did web as method, and you can here switch which definitions are local or remote. I'll first go to the definitions part. Here are the definitions. You can collapse them a bit or open them up a bit more with more information. These buttons you have available here. There are more buttons here. I might be able to go into the details, but I would invite you just go there and test them yourself. How do you get to this example? There are quite a few examples. Kor, if you would be able to put in the link to the topic of the GitHub that we've used yesterday as well, the same link as that you've put in the chat yesterday. Then from there you can find 3 specifications and 3 glossaries, and you can click through them at will. So if I take the remote out, you will see that not much happens. If I take the locals ones out, everything is gone. So this is a good example of of a specification that has still got all of his own definitions. And so we are yet to integrate them with the glossaries that we already have available. That's our next step. What can you do too? Here you got versions. I'll show you one that has already versions, and that is the Trust over IP glossary. Yes, this is the general glossary, but it doesn't matter. I want to see the CTW main glossary. So I could use the bar here too, and make it a bit bigger so you can see it. And then here I could click on versions, and then you see that we've got a few fixed versions already. And you could refer to those ones too. So that means that you have a fixed version that you can trust that the definition will not change. So here you see a lot of definitions. Again, it's the same structure. Collapse in, collapse out. You can switch to local and remote. And you will see that we have here a few remote definitions. Remote definitions mean that we use definitions of another glossary in this glossary. Let's have a look. So this one is decentralized key management infrastructure. Obviously, we haven't defined that one here. We got it from somebody else. From who did we have it? We have it from the general glossary. So this one is coming from the general glossary. Yesterday, we've shown the people present, and it's also recorded, how you can make this work. You use 4 or 5 specialized tags. Beauties there, it's def, it's ref, it's tref, xref, and iref. And these ones, as soon as you look into the markdown of your files that you create with Spec and for Spec-Up-T, you will see those tags around. And Kor will mention them as well, because of course you will use them under the hood of this vehicle. You will use them as well, but then with buttons and so on. So you might recognize them later, the ones that are called out. Def, ref, xref, that means an external reference. Tref, that means transclusion reference. And this is an example of that one, a transclusion reference. What else have we got? We can search the terms here. Let's try skid. I don't know whether it's in here. Yes, we got 6 matches for skid, and then you can walk through them. You don't see them because they hit. Yeah, exactly. You can only see them if you've set the filters in the right way. So obviously this is a local definition of skid. And this is a link. You can also see that Spec-Up-T has pop-ups, and they also work for external references. In the new versions of Spec-Up, and I see that this one doesn't have the latest version installed. I mean the really, really latest version. You will see dashed lines under everything that we've created with tags. So as soon as you have used a tag like diff, like def, tref, ref, xref, and so on, you will see a dash line in these versions. Do I have a proof of that? Hopefully, yeah. I'll try to find the glossary. It should be from here, terms definition. There we go. So I got them to collapse again. And then you can see here that this is the new version. It's got dashed lines. This is a local reference. So if I click on this one, it will go to another reference in the same glossary. As soon as you see this, like the external one, then you go somewhere else. And in this case, you go to the composable evenly streaming representation. So it's all connected together. It's all integrated. And the one goal we have is to build consensus among all projects that we have under Trust over IP. And Kor now will give you an introduction in how you can manage that without being a geek that uses the command line. Have I missed vital parts, Drummond or Kor? please.
Not from my standpoint. You're covering the full set of capabilities of Spec-Up-T, and it's great to see the new web editor. So for anyone that's watching and saying, oh wow, this is editing GitHub documents in Markdown, the web editor is you'll see it's actually remarkably easy if you have a document in Markdown to add this kind of glossary support.
Yep. So then let me do one more thing, and hopefully it works. We are now in the did method web specification. If I click on this one here, then you get to the actual source of it, and that will Core do too, but then with a nice web graphical user interface around it. But these are the actual definitions, and you can also click on the traps and you will find them too. So from the web and from the front end, you can also access this. You don't need your local machine or pull repos empty from GitHub onto your local system. Core will now introduce how it's done. Thank you for your attention. How to unshare. Yep, stop share. There we go.
All right. I'll start sharing again. All right. So let's start with creating. So I made screen recordings to save myself the stress of doing it live, and I'll start the screen recordings and I'll comment on them. So the first one is create a Spec-Up-T project. So you can do that from the web editor. You don't have to do any command line interaction, and you can just click in the web editor. So it's a bit too fast. So this is create repository here. This is a part where you can go to an existing repository, and below here I can't scroll now because it's a movie, but here you find your repositories that you visited before, the recently visited repositories. So we're now going to create a repository, and I'll resume the movie. So here you'll give it a project name, and you can add a description. You can choose public or private, but we want public, of course. You can add a specification title. You can always change it later. And your name. And then you create a project. So this is why I made a movie, because this takes a lot of time. So I'll fast forward 10 seconds, 20, 30, 40, 50. So project created successfully. So let's go to GitHub where the project is. And that was the first part. So that was creating a project. So let's go to the second step, and let's go to the Explorer. Open the project files, and now you're in the Explorer. And what you could do is reorder the files if you wanted to. You could save the order. So, and now you have a new order. No, that's the first movie again. So step 3, let's change the content of a specification file. So let's take the head. So I'll fast. So here spec. So we're going to edit the spec head. Let's go. So let's add some text. Let's commit it. Commit is like saving. So let's go back to the Explorer. No, let's go to the repository and see what happened. Yes. So this is kind of a test if it really worked. We're now in GitHub environment, and now we're back. We're back in the editor. That was the reordering again. So what we did now is change some text in the specification file. So
Or could you,
now
before
let's
you start,
change.
Cor,
Yeah.
before you start
Yeah.
the next video, could you explain what we are looking at here with the list of files? What is it?
Yeah. So the list of files.
What is
So
this?
let's go. Yeah, let's go back to the earlier. So this is your folder on your computer, or a folder on the remote web server. This is where where the Spec-Up-T specification or how repo, or how you want to call it, is living. And what we are looking at is this part, the spec folder. That's where your files are that you want to edit. So this is inside the spec here, and that's one of the folders in your installation. Let's call it installation. And this is something you don't see right now. We'll get to that later. And this one does not exist yet because we didn't generate the final product from all these files in here. Is that clear?
Yeah, to me it was.
Okay. So maybe I should check the chat if there are questions, but I think if I'm going to the chat, then
I'll keep an eye on the chat.
Yeah, we're watching
Okay.
that. It's fine.
Okay, thanks. So let's change a term file. So here you have a folder inside the spec folder here, and inside the spec folder is another folder which contains the terms and definition files. So I think that's what you call a glossary. So let's do that. Change the content. So now we're going into the terms and definitions. So now we are in a let's say a subfolder, the folder of the specs. You can see it here. This was the specs. This was this here, and now we're going into the terms and definitions folder. And I created a demo, and I used gardening terms to use something else so it makes it clear it's a demo. So here you'll find all kinds of gardening terms like fertilizer, mulch, and pruning, etc. And we are going to edit composed, the term composed. So now we are in the one of the few editors we have. This is the technical editor. Later on, you'll see this the simple editor. You'll see a preview and you see a split view with all the editors together. So this is the preview. So let's go a little bit back. This is the markdown. And these are this def with the double square brackets here. This is Spec-Up-T language. So inside, you could say inside the markdown, we have our own little language, and that's what Henk already mentioned. The def, the tref, the xref, and the iref. And this is, in this case, it's a def, so that's a local. It's the most. It's a local definition. So it's not a call to an external reference, but it's here what you want it to be. So this is your term composed, and these are aliases, and this is what you want it to be. This is your definition of composed, and here you find refs like a ref, and that's a reference to another term like soil in this case, and it's also in your local specification. And if we go to the preview, it looks totally different from what Henk just showed, but the idea is the same. It's only, that's why it's called a preview. It's only the term, the aliases, and the definition. So we're going to make a little change, a fantastic mixture. We're going to preview, and you see that the word is now in the preview. We're going to commit, which is saving. And we're going to now we're going to GitHub. So what I just did is rewinding a bit. So we're going to here to the GitHub repo, external domain, and we're going to check if it all worked. So we're going inside. So here is again the spec folder, and again the terms and definitions. Inside the spec folder, you can see the hierarchy here. And now we're going to composed. And you see that fantastic is added to the definition. I think this is an old movie. So now we have changed a term file, and what we want is we want to see the end result. So what we're going to do is render the whole thing and then do a preview of what is rendered. So you see here the menu render, and there are three options currently rendering. You can create a we call it freeze. You can create Henk just showed you the static versions. Like you can freeze it in time, so you can point, so somebody else can point to a certain version. It's like versioning, so you can point to a version, and if the owner of this repository decides to change things, you can still point to an earlier version. And but the owner has to freeze the version. But now we'll focus on the rendering here. We're going to render, so we're going to, let's go back to this. We're going to so this computer is going to render from this to the web page. That's a slow process, unfortunately. GitHub takes its time, and I sped it up here. So this is, I'm cheating here. This takes minutes, but I already did it beforehand, and we're going to the final view inside the web editor. And now we're going to, so we clicked on open. Now it's open in a new tab, and now we're back to what Henk showed. This is the final, this is a specification, a Spec-Up-T specification. And this is demo content. This is from the original Spec-Up system. And this is already what Henk showed, collapsing 3 steps. And you can search. So now you saw the end result, and the next step is creating an external reference. Henk already explained what it was, and now we'll show you how we do that in the web editor. So now I'm going to show you how to go to a specification, to a repository, or to an installation. We don't have a. We should create our own specification and glossary, I think, for terminology to use. I think we're going to open a specification, a Spec-Up-T specification. So I'm going to enter my own GitHub username. Now I'm getting a listing of all my repositories, and this one is what I created today for this workshop. This is the main branch. Let's forget about the branch, that's for later. We're going into the terms and definitions. And now I'm going to create a new term and a new, not a new definition. I'm going to create a term, agency here, and I'm going to reference an external specification, and then I'll change my mind, and I want the agency definition of another specification, and that's what you're going to see now. So I'm going to create the file, like the Word file or the Markdown file, how you want to call it. I change the definition to something I want, and these are aliases. So I leave that for now. I create a draft. This is the preview. Back to the technical editor. And now so now here I'm going to create an external reference. So I already have my own bit of definition, like the text first paragraph, second paragraph, and that will stay, that will show up below the external definition that I'm going to add now. So you can always add your own annotation, or how you want to call it, to the external reference. So now I'm going to add an external reference. I have defined 4 external references. Maybe I should have shown it to you, but for now, just assume that I've defined in the configuration file 4 external references. I'm going to use one reference and then change my mind and use another one. I found 2 references with the same definition, namely agency. So I'm going to browse the external references. I have to click refresh. Why is that? Because I'm using a GitHub token and it's very restricted. So if you are too generous with your calls to GitHub, then at a certain point it says you have used up your credits and you have to wait a little. And to avoid that, we only look up the external references if we really want it. So now I click refresh. Maybe I should call it lookup or something, but it's called refresh, and we're going to look up the external references. So there they are. Now I'm going to search for the agency term, and there are two agency terms, one in the trust over IP and one in the Gen IT. And I'm going to use the trust over IP first. Now I'm in the split view. There you'll find the simple editor, the technical editor, and the preview. And what you see here is the term agency. I can't select it, of course. The term agency, I just defined that here. And then you see my own definitions here below, and this in the green. This is the external definition that I liked very much and I wanted to use. So in the context of decentralized digital trust, All right, let's continue. Now I changed my mind. I want to use the other one. I want to use the Gen IT one. I click on it. Now you have the other definition here. Okay, I decide I want to use that one. I'll save the file. I go to the Explorer, into the terms and definitions, and I see an underscore here before the file name, and that means that it's a draft. So it's not yet published, and you can change your mind before publishing. You open it. Now I publish it. It's published successfully. Go back to the Explorer, into the terms and definitions folder, and now the underscore is gone and the draft indication is gone, and it's live. And it's an external definition. Right. Okay. Of course, we all make mistakes, and sometimes things don't work, and you want to know what went wrong. So we're building a health check. You can run a health check on your specification anytime you want, and that's what we're going to do now. Take some time. Right. So there's one problem, and it doesn't matter right now what's written here exactly. It's a problem with your it's a technical problem, and I think I should change the wording because it doesn't mean if you build an editor for less technical people, you should not mention package JSON, I think, but that's for the future. So there's a little problemato, but it's not it's orange, it's not red, so we're good to go. And now I'm going to show you everything that went well, and let's show the passing checks. Always nice to know what went well, and that you'll see here. Right. And we have a link checker. Let's try that. Go back to the health check and click check links. Right. So I kept this one to show you that it's still a test version. So I don't know why this doesn't work, but I have to find that out. But this is to show you that it's all in development right now. And finally, the how to create a token. I made a recording of that, and I'll show you right now how to create a token. It's you have to we assume you already have a GitHub account, and when you're logged in, you're going to create a token, and that's what I'll show you now. You go to settings, developer settings, personal access tokens, tokens classic, generate a new token, a classic token, add some comments for your own administration. You can set an expiration date or not. And this is important. You have to set two checkboxes, repo and workflow. Generate a token. Copy. And then go to your web editor. I log out for demonstration purpose. I enter the token here. I log in. I'm successfully logged in, and I'm going to do what I want to do. Oops, cancel. So this is what I have on screen movies, and yeah, I think I'm through it now. Henk, if you think
Oh,
you
shall
need
I
to,
take? There's one thing I think is very important to consider if you're going to work with this and create your own specifications, your own glossaries. And if you allow me to share the screen for
yeah,
let's say 2 or 3 minutes, then you can reorganize your workshop, and I'll show you. I'll show them what I think is very important to consider. It took me a while before I really grasped the idea behind it. Spec-Up makes heavily use of the pages functionality of github.com. And let me give you the why is, of course, that we will use the version management behind GitHub, and that we can see what the differences are So let's just give you an example. If somebody changes a definition in an external glossary, so the source manager of that glossary changes a definition, you want to know for sure. Because within your concept, within your mental model, you relied on that definition. So if somebody changes it, maybe 180 degrees, you sure want to know. And the second reason is that, and so Git can tell you, and we, of course, in Spec-Up-T, we save the version that you once refer to. So you can always go back to the point in time that you chose to refer to an external glossary item, and they can change whatever they like. You still have the opportunity to go back to that definition and take ownership of that one. Yeah, so that's an important one. The second thing I want to show you is here, this button settings. That means that I got over this Spec-Up-T repository, I got certain rights that I can set the settings, and that's important for you to consider if you work with pages. I go to the settings page, I go scroll down, and I'm looking for the button pages, because you have three stages. You have a username. So for example, trust over IP is a username that has many repos on GitHub. The same counts for, well, anyone, but let's focus on trust over IP. So we have many repos there, of which quite a few are Spec-Up-T based. And the course showed you that already when you could choose for a certain repo. But what is interesting is that for every repo on that one, if it is, you can choose to build a pages aside from that. But there's always a one-to-one relationship between the repo and your pages site. You can generate more pages sites, that's no problem. But there's always one that is the actual one. And I'll show you which one that is. There's this one here. So here you say build and deploy from a branch, and you can choose a branch here. And I won't change it because it will actually change stuff. But you can choose here on which branch. So for example, why is this interesting? If I'm developing and I want to, let's say, as a visitor of Drummond's glossary, I want to give a few amendments to his definitions, or propose a few amendments to his definitions. I could copy the whole glossary to my own username, like my username is Henk van Kan, and then push it in the typos out, for example, branch, and then generate the pages on my user account, being my single source of truth, and then offer that as a sort of a proposal to Drummond. And Drummond can then cherry pick from what I've created. And the good thing is you can see what Drummond has produced as his production site, which that is the main Trust over IP glossary. You can look through the full end result that I've produced on my user's side, and you can also compare the changes. So that's the good thing about branch-based pages creation. So you have to understand, you have one username, you have one Spec-Up-T repo that you consider under those usernames, but there are many possible. But of that one repo, you can produce one pages at a time that will show up at GitHub Pages. And so you have to have the notion of branches, because you build upon a branch and you can use that. But sometimes it's frustrating because you push stuff to a certain branch, for example, main, and then this one is still standing on typos out, and you won't see your results. This is a very important lever. And there's other options as well. You can use GitHub Actions. So you could push all the sources and then create a GitHub Actions that does all the generation for you. So I just wanted to point out that there's lots to learn behind this very easy button, or the button here, settings. So it, it's 2 clicks, settings, and then here, pages. And this is where you control what is your single source of truth currently from that one repo under your username. Thank you. Go ahead, go on.
So I'm through my screen recordings. Maybe it's time to make it a bit more interactive.
Yeah, we can ask for people that have questions so far. And
Yeah, so are there questions?
I've been monitoring the chat, and folks have been discussing it, but I think you've been answering most of their questions there. So I'm just seeing if there's anyone else. So, and I want to clarify. Oh, here one, Riza's coming in, asked, can I rebuild my site with GitHub Pages? When you say your site, Riza, can you clarify what site you're, oh, the Kwai.ai. Oh, interesting. I'm not an expert in GitHub Pages. So
I'll have a look at it.
Let me see what that is.
It's currently a very crappy Google Sites web page website, and it is it's been the subject of lots of criticism, and I need to really think about a whole new platform to build it on. And so just a broad open question: could I build it on GitHub Pages?
Yeah, the answer is yes. But I think you can always build it on GitHub Pages. And then the next question is, do you need Spec-Up-T for that? So if the nature of your website would be a specification or reaching out to glossaries, central glossaries, then the answer would be yes. But otherwise, you could use it as a single page website. Yes, of course.
Okay, and I think yes, we are building specifications. So we've got a whole sort of a mix of different platforms. We've got Google, a Google Drive. We've got Slack. We've got all sorts of spaces, and it's a bit of a confusion. And I'm looking for some unifying principle. And yes, I think the ref constructs are important because you don't want to make external references that could change on you if they are fundamental to the spec that you're writing. So something a bit more wiki-like, I think, is going to be important.
Yeah. So it's a static page. That's a very good remark of somebody in the chat. Maki is that, and he says it's a static page, and it's a very important remark to make because it's a static page generator, GitHub Pages. So it's not very interactive apart from the links that you put on it. To answer your question further, if you have your sources now in your website and you could save them or export them anyway into Markdown, and that's your first step, and then you put it in the structure of a Spec-Up-T, and then it will show pretty quickly because you have a small how you call a configuration file. It's called specs.json in the root of the directory, and that's where you would list manually your files that you've saved there. Or Core, maybe you have to correct me that it already can track them automatically and put it in a certain order. But I thought that we still have to configure them. So let's say you have file A.md, file B.md, and file C.md, and you want them in the reverse order, then you put them in a configuration file like that, and it will generate one page site with the content of these three files that you've saved from your current website on a static GitHub page with the looks of Spec-Up.
Thanks.
Does that make sense?
Yes, indeed it does. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me see whether there are more questions. Yes, Stefan says, not until I try it. Great to import my papers too. Yes, on a markdown level, you're king. So as soon as you got the markdown, you put them in the structure and you push a few buttons. Well, the original creator of Spec-Up said it's easy peasy. We've been working on this one for 2 years, and I see Drummond smile too, because it's everything except easy peasy.
Exactly. Once you get it going, I must say, once you have it all installed in a document, then it really is. It feels, once you get used to using refs and defs and xrefs and trefs, it becomes very natural. And in fact, you sort of go, oh, wow, how did I ever really manage any kind of glossary without this? I mean, there was a very basic ref def type functionality in Spec-Up plain, but external glossary references, that was as Hank knows, that was the thing we were struggling with. We'd done an early version of it in the concept terminology working group. Many thanks to Daniel Hardman and another developer named Brian Richter that helped us put that together and enhance the original Spec-Up just to support these external references. But there's a lot of, you got to hand it to Hank and Kor. It's a much more complicated programming challenge than it looks, right? To do it and do it well. And, the versioning, spec freezing, the TREFs, so you can have transclusion when you need that. These are really powerful features. They're very easy to understand from a writing standpoint. It's like, oh, I know what I need it to look like. But to actually automate it and make it work across live, documents on the web is really hard. And I want to, just a massive thanks to Hank and Kor for the work they've done. This is a good 2-year project ever since you first bit into it, Hank and Kor, right? Had you probably you realized how much work it would be, you may not have gone down that road. And I want to ask one thing I've been wondering for a while, which is, we're used to, it's called Spec-Up-T. We're used to using with specs, but with Spec-Up-T, you could essentially apply this to any markdown document, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to share you one specific feature that you I saw somebody mentioning transclusion baby. So let me show you the one of these things that transclusion can do for you. For example, we had the did method web as that we've seen before. Let me try to find that again. Did web as, this is the one, and then yeah. So this is the specification, and they had all over the place definitions. And the reason they had that was that they wanted to transclude the definitions into the text. So they thought it is very important to be able to reference, even if the glossary is in your own document somewhere. Like for example, here we got the definitions list. I'll make it. I'll close the harmonica. So they've got these definitions. Even they have them here, but they want to be able to reference them as is, so in full version, somewhere else in the same document. So that's what we've done built. We call that an IREF. So that's the latest improvement we got to present. Let me see where it is. Oh, I try to get acknowledge, yeah, references. Here you can see them. So here are irefs. You think the color is a bit different, and the only thing here you see is a local reference to the term definition in the glossary. And that connects to another question of somebody else in the chat who asked, should I reference, am I able to reference to my definitions in my own document, in my own repo? Yes, but you have to consider that GitHub Pages is only a one-pager, a static one-pager. So yes, you can use this link, you can click on it, and you will go to it, but it's only on one page. That's it. That's called iref.
I would like to mention something else. It's that if you use the web editor, it's not that so you can use the web editor and somebody else can use the command line tool on the same specification. It's not that if you use the web editor that you lock in the specification or something. It's just markdown files in the GitHub repository, and it's up to you how you edit them, how you manage them, how you handle them. So you could do that. You can do it with your command line tool, your Spec-Up-T on the command line. You could do it with our Spec-Up-T Web Editor, or a third way would be you could use it. You could use the GitHub editor, the GitHub editor on the GitHub page itself. That's also a way, but that's not as user-friendly as the Spec-Up-T Web Editor. But it's not that you so the files stay. It's an open system. That's what I want to say.
If somebody is interested in the command line version and how that looks like, just call out. We could do it on the fly because we have the time for it to do it. But raise any question if you like.
I'll add the
Otherwise-
documentation of the command line tool. This is.
Sorry?
I'll add the documentation link to the Spec-Up-T command line.
Yeah.
For
Thank you, Annie. Did we mention already the user manual, Kor?
the user manual is in the it's in under the help menu item.
Yeah. Of your web UI.
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah. I try to follow common practice. So the most the menu item at the right is usually help, and there's usually a link to documentation, and etc. And I try to follow that principle.
I'll paste a link to the user manual in the chat. It's a pretty extensive user manual. Don't take everything for granted because we are working with the two of us, and sometimes development rushes up. We take a few leaps forward and then we have to go back and document it all. But you can see that it's, by the way, it's not a Spec-Up-T based website, so we don't eat our own dog food there. We use a different generator for the manual, and it's a Docusaurus based site.
And that's the link I just pasted. The user instructions for the web editor is currently at the inside the README, a user guide on the on the repository, so it's not yet integrated into the link you just pasted.
All right. Okay. Yep.
I'll wait. I'll paste. I'll paste the file, the URL. Just
Mhm.
documentation here. Documentation.
Are there any other things that you would like to show us, or ask people to test tomorrow or today?
Yeah, I would like. I would love if people would try to to create start with creating this personal access token and then log into to the web editor and do some simple things. And I'm sure I'm sure there are a lot of bugs in it. So I would really be happy
You
if
can
people.
use test capacity. Yeah.
Yes.
Is it safe? Is it safe to use the web editor on your current Spec-Up-T based repos?
I would do it myself, but I would advise first to create a test specification and do some testing.
Yeah.
Better.
Then I'll quickly give people an idea of how it works when you're with terminal-based working on 7 specifications at the same time. So this is all about consensus creation. What it means, if I'm well, you see my terminal view here. Is that all right? I shared my terminal view.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yeah,
Yeah?
we're seeing
Yes.
it.
Okay, great. So as you can see down here, it's the TSWG AC/DC specification. And that's, by the way, a typo. It's nowadays it's called the Carry Suite Working Group, and also so we've promoted that through all the names. But on my local machine, it's still called TSWG, and I'm in the root of the specifications. So you see here what Kor also called out here the spec, and I will go to that spec, and I will say list what we've got here. So Sam Smith is the writer of this specification, and he doesn't like to go through many markdown files. So if you see other specifications, for example, this one here, this is the specification of the DIT web AS, and they have
Hank, I
many.
still see your command line.
Oh, you still see my command line? Oh,
No.
okay. So most probably I'm only in one at a time. Yeah, I'm only at one at a time. Okay, so that limits my abilities. Don't worry. I'll go from here. I'll try to show you a different Spec-Up-T based repo where the spec directories has many markdown files. We don't judge that. It's a choice to specify here in your specs.json. Let me not CD, but more. So what you see here is the specs.json, and here you see the list of files that Spec-Up-T will put together for you. It's the spec head, spec body, and the terms definitions intro. That's a choice of Sam Smith as a writer. He chooses to do it like this. You can choose to do many of them. This terms definition is very important. One, because it introduces the terms and the terms definition directory. Let me go to that one, terms definition directory. That's an arbitrary name, by the way. You can also configure that if you want it differently, but we highly advise we advise people to use this name because it's becoming a sort of a standard. So you will find these definitions in the KSWG specification, and it has, let's say, how many, 50 or so. And then you could manually change your definitions here. And you can also visibly see whether it's a def or a traf. So let me just take one verifier, for example. Verifier. There we go. And it's a traf. So you see that we here reference to Drummond's definition of a verifier. That's a choice too. We could easily make a def from it. And what we do, as soon as we traf it, we make a copy locally, which you can traverse. So as soon as Drummond takes this definition away, we are still able to get our sources back at the moment that we've chosen to reference Drummond's definition. Let me see what I can find a typical AC/DC definition. I think compact disclosure can be one of them. So this is in your glossary. These markdown files are all listed as single definitions in your glossary. This is also a traf, so it will be difficult for me to find one here in AC/DC that is typical for AC/DC. Maybe chain link confidentiality, or sorry, should not do that. That has more chain link confidentiality. So that's also a traf. We don't care. We are now going to edit it, and I will add a small line to it just to show you, and I'll do that in an editor. I will add a small line to this one. I'm the maintainer of this site. I will undo it later. What I'll do is I add a small line, and it says workshop.
Hank, we cannot see your Visual Studio Code.
I know.
Okay.
I'll be back soon.
Yeah.
I'll save it, and now you can see that I'll use a git status command, and you can see that we've modified this new definition here. So I could show you where the index so your end result on the website with github.com on pages, you can generate that. You generate it locally too. So, and that command is called, this is the local menu you have that Kor is now building in. So these are the local, on your local machine, command line related commands that you have. So you could render the specification anew, and you could also collect the external references. I will now choose one because we have not changed the external references. But now you will see that that it will, I see Kor has changed the effect. You will still try to extract all the external references, but it doesn't care. So I would like to go to the index file. And how it works is that I, of course, have to commit. So now I generated my new index.file, index.html file, which is the end, which contains the end result. I've modified this chain link confidential disclosure.md. I will then add it to my next commit. Hopefully that works. No, it will not work because the index file is somewhere else. It is, yeah. And I will give, this has to be removed again. Removed. So this is the way we are constantly trying to build consensus about a certain term. For example, if I exchange my definition for a traf, that's the moment that I rely on a definition from somebody else. And this is the workflow that I go through to get that in the outside world. So on my own GitHub.com account. So I'll push it. Git push, and I will push it to my origin. And I will use the you. There we go. So now I've pushed it outside, and hopefully I'm able to show you also where that ends up. I'll go to the Brave browser. Yeah, and then go to. Do you see Brave browser now with many?
Yep.
Yep. Okay, great. This is the repo, and we would like to check whether I indeed have changed my files. I was expecting here something else, Kor. The terms directory.
Yeah. That's
Oh, wait,
strange.
it's the old one. So you have to go to the same branch. And the fun thing is, I explained it like 10 minutes ago, that it's very important to realize that it's branch-based. And now I make the same mistake myself here. Here you got the terms and definition, and you can find the chain link, which has to be removed. So this is the GitHub, sorry, the change that I just created. And how does that look like? I hopefully it has already created the GitHub pages, because as soon as I push, GitHub will automatically find it, and then we have to go to chain link confidentiality.
It's a very slow process, the GitHub page rendering.
Sorry, and here you see workshop trust over IP. You see?
Oh,
so this
great.
is exactly how it. So now I've shown you how a local change on your traf, even a traf, you can add data to it. So that's a very strong, and I think a very important functionality of Spec-Up-T, is that you can reference somebody else's definition, but you can add your own context around it. In this case, workshop trust over IP. And with a few commands, even on the command line, you have it in the outside world. So if I would offer this to Sam Smith, I could then go forward and go to the trust over IP. Well, let me see. Yeah. So I could change this for trust over IP, because we have in main, we have, of course, the production version of the AC/DC. So if I would like to offer my change, which says workshop trust over IP, to Sam Smith, and he can choose whether to take that or not. We are pretty sure that he will reject this one. But then we could say here, a pull request, and it will clearly find the differences between. So this is what I show you now, and why it is important is how you can offer changes to an existing glossary, a main glossary like that one of Drummond, or the ones that I've created. We are very happy to hear your view on how the definition text should be, or maybe there are mistakes in there. And this is the way to do it. You push it to your own user account. It's visible. I showed you that the workshop trust over IP was actually on my pages, And then you say compare across forks. Here you go to Henk van Kan in this case, because that's where and it was very important to choose the right branch. And then it says, this has to be removed. And if I go forward, I could create a pull request. I don't do that, but this is the way you offer to the owner of the glossary a change or an amendment. That's it from my behalf.
Which is pretty cool. There's just a few minutes left.
Yep.
So I'm just checking to see if there are any other questions. I'm pretty sure you said this earlier, but I want to clarify that the web editor is still in evolution and testing. But if you're using the web editor versus the CLI, you're still editing the same underlying Markdown documents.
Yep.
You can use either one, and as the web editor gets completed, then and either one can be used. But the CLI folks can be using today. We are using it today on various projects. That's fantastic. Let me ask one question on behalf of folks that might be listening, either directly right now or likely to the recording we're going to have of this. There's just this slight possibility that they might go, wow, that was really cool, but I'm going to need some help trying to figure out, when I dive into this, what's the best resource? I know you've done quite a bit of documentation. Where should folks go? I see the documentation of a web editor. Are there any other resources they should look at as they want to dive in and say, I want to apply Spec-Up-T to my documents?
I think the two links here is where they should go actually. So the one Spec-Up-T website, this has the documentation about the command line tool mostly. There's also a reference to how to do it on GitHub, but the web editor is still in the second link. It ends with user guide. That's a file in the repository of the web editor, and I think that has to go into the other one. So we have to unify the two so that the website, the link, the URL that ends with website is the main one, and the userguide.md should go into the website.
I got another tip. Just click through the end results and the repos. It's very helpful. So you have like 7 interrelated glossaries under that trust over IP ecosystem. And if you start clicking through them and go, under the hood of that single page per repo, per username, and you will check out all the files and the branches, it will, as a coder or as a technical command line person, it will be very helpful to how you call that, drill down how Spec-Up-T functions, apart from the documentations that Kor mentioned.
What I think is still a bit confusing is that if you click on an external term to an external repository, the fact that the design of the external repository is also the Spec-Up-T design makes that you don't realize that you're going to a different domain, to a different URL, to a different
Username,
yeah. So I think we have to find a solution for that. That makes clear that if you click on it, you are going to another web page, so to speak.
And do you have that solution for us?
Yeah, you could create a little delay, and show a little box that says you are being redirected to
All right.
Yeah, a little warning. There are a lot of sites that do that.
Yeah.
They make it clear that that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for offering the solution in one go, Kor. And when is it ready?
I love that. Also, I very much appreciate Stephen Vick. I just made the suggestion. I'll ask Gemini to look through all this stuff and give me an exact plan, and I'll only check the docs if that fails. Yep, that's the AI way of using Spec-Up-T. That's fantastic.
That's very good that you remind me of this, because we do have a specific chat for Spec-Up-T, and if I know we have a break after us, but I'll paste it as quickly as possible in the chat so you can still have it. It's a ChatGPT based Spec-Up-T chat.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, definitely put that in there. And I also put in links. Again, this work at TrustORP has a home in the Concepts and Terminology Working Group, which we started just a couple months after we started TrustORP, because we said, wow, digital identity and trust is super reliant on aligning on the key terms. It's such a deep, some would say even philosophic topic, and so and there are now over 500 terms in the TrustORP glossary. I don't know what the total is, Hank, of all the carry glossaries that you maintain.
It's above 1,000. I think the general glossary, the carry glossary, and the main TrustORP glossary together.
Yeah, so there's a lot of work that's gone into it. There's still more. I have a list of over, I think, like 50 terms that I've backed up that I need to get do pull requests to get in there.
Me too. Yeah, we need to build a consensus. So I would like to tref to your definitions more.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what the goal is of Spec-Up-T.
I'm hoping I get some time over the holidays to catch up on that. But anyway, we welcome anyone here today live or viewing the recording. We'll put in the links. It's easy to find us at TrustORP and the Concept Terminology Working Group. And I want to give a major shout out and thanks to Hank and Kor for all the work they've done on this spectacular tool, Spec-Up-T. I use it every day. I just use it and swore at it several times yesterday. No, I swore at myself for getting the tags wrong. Thank you, Hank, for putting in the ChatGPT assistant for Spec-Up-T.
Yeah. If somebody can click on it just to check whether it works, because of course it works at my end.
I'm doing it right
It
now.
works, Hank.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh.
Looks good.
All right.
I'm logged in and it still works.
All right, good.
I'm adding that to my bookmarks for the CTWG right now. So thank you again very much, Hank and Kor, and to everyone that joined us today. And look forward to you using Spec-Up-T. And please do visit us or join us at the Concept Terminology Working Group.